Aaron, the brother of Moses, was called by God to become the spiritual leader of Israel at a pivotal moment in their history. But how did he step into this massive responsibility, and what can we learn from his journey? In this video, we'll uncover Aaron's role as the first high priest, his leadership alongside Moses, and how he played a key part in shaping the future of Israel. Have you ever wondered how God uses ordinary people to accomplish extraordinary things? This video will not only teach you about Aaron's vital role in Israel's spiritual journey, but also offer valuable insights into faith, leadership, and obedience. Are you ready to discover how you can make a significant impact in your own spiritual life, just like Aaron? Before we continue, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us reach more people with these powerful stories and lessons. Let's dive into Aaron's story and uncover the lessons that can guide us today. Aaron was born into the Levite family, which was significant because it was the tribe chosen by God to serve in the priesthood. As the firstborn son of Amram and Jochebed, Aaron was 3 years older than his brother Moses. Both were born into a time of great oppression for the Israelites, who were enslaved in Egypt. While Moses was called to lead the Israelites out of bondage, Aaron played a crucial role in supporting his brother throughout their mission. Together, they would lead the Israelites to freedom, with Aaron stepping into a leadership role of his own as the first high priest of Israel. When Moses was called by God to deliver the Israelites from slavery in Egypt, he hesitated, feeling inadequate due to his speech difficulties. God, knowing Moses' heart, appointed Aaron to be his spokesman and helper. This partnership was pivotal to the success of their mission. Aaron would speak on Moses' behalf, delivering God's commands to Pharaoh and the people of Israel. Through their combined efforts, God would work miracles and signs, such as turning the Nile into blood and calling down plagues upon Egypt, to demonstrate his power and convince Pharaoh to release the Israelites. Aaron's role in the early life of the Israelites did not end with speaking to Pharaoh. He was also deeply involved in the worship practices of the Israelites, including the construction of the tabernacle. But his leadership truly shone during the Exodus itself. Alongside Moses, Aaron stood before Pharaoh and demanded the release of the Israelites. They were instrumental in the events leading up to the liberation, with Aaron as Moses' main ally and assistant in the face of Egypt's great opposition. One of Aaron's key roles was as the representative of God's will to the people of Israel. While Moses received direct revelations from God, Aaron communicated these instructions to the people, ensuring they were united in their faith and obedience to God. His leadership also involved organizing the Israelites during their time in the desert and facilitating the spiritual needs of the community. The Israelites looked to Aaron for guidance and direction during their journey. Aaron's influence extended beyond the Exodus, as he was chosen to serve as Israel's first high priest. The significance of Aaron's priestly role cannot be overstated, as it was through him and his descendants that the priesthood would be established in Israel. His responsibility included overseeing the sacrificial system, offering atonement for the sins of the people, and maintaining the holiness of the tabernacle. Aaron's leadership in this capacity laid the foundation for Israel's spiritual life and rituals. Throughout these early years, Aaron remained a central figure in the spiritual and political leadership of Israel. While Moses was the primary leader, Aaron's loyalty, faithfulness, and strength made him a key figure in ensuring the success of God's plan for his people. His support of Moses and his role as high priest showed that leadership in God's kingdom involves humility, obedience, and service to others. These qualities defined Aaron's life, setting the stage for his future role as the first high priest and an essential part of Israel's spiritual leadership. God appointed Aaron as the first high priest of Israel, a monumental and sacred role. This calling was deeply significant, as it established Aaron and his descendants as the spiritual leaders of the nation. While Moses was given the responsibility of leading the people and delivering God's laws, Aaron was entrusted with the priestly duties. God instructed Moses to anoint Aaron and his sons, setting them apart for a life of service. This appointment was the foundation of the Levitical priesthood, ensuring that Israel would have a dedicated group of people to mediate between them and God, offering sacrifices and leading the people in worship. As the high priest, Aaron was responsible for a variety of important duties. His primary role was to offer sacrifices on behalf of the people, seeking God's forgiveness for their sins. This was a critical part of Israel's spiritual life, as the people needed a way to atone for their transgressions and remain in right standing with God. Aaron also oversaw the rituals of the tabernacle, ensuring that the sacred duties were performed correctly and that the people followed the prescribed laws of worship. His work as a mediator between God and Israel made him a vital figure in maintaining the covenant relationship. One of the most important events that highlighted Aaron's role as high priest was his participation in the Day of Atonement, the most sacred day in Israel's religious calendar. On this day, Aaron was required to enter the Holy of Holies, the innermost part of the tabernacle, and offer sacrifices for the sins of the people. This act symbolized Israel's need for reconciliation with God and showcased Aaron's unique position as the intercessor between the people and their Creator. His role was not only a position of high honor, but also one of great responsibility and reverence. Despite his elevated status, Aaron was not immune to failure. A significant moment of failure in his leadership occurred when the Israelites, impatient with Moses' prolonged absence on Mount Sinai, demanded that Aaron make them a god to worship. Yielding to their pressure, Aaron allowed them to create and worship the golden calf. This act of idolatry was a grave sin against God and a major failure in Aaron's leadership. It revealed that even those in positions of great authority can be swayed by the desires of the people, and it marked a moment of weakness in Aaron's otherwise faithful service. Although Aaron's failure with the golden calf was severe, God showed mercy. After Moses returned and confronted the people, Aaron's role as high priest was not revoked. Instead, God allowed him to continue in his priestly duties, demonstrating his grace and forgiveness. This incident also highlighted the importance of repentance and the necessity of God's forgiveness, both for Aaron and the people of Israel. It was a reminder that leaders must remain steadfast and faithful to God, despite the pressures they may face. Aaron's legacy as the first high priest and his role in the spiritual life of Israel is profound. His leadership helped shape Israel's religious practices and their understanding of God's holiness. Though Aaron made mistakes, his life also shows the power of redemption and God's grace. His unwavering role in leading the people in worship and atonement set a standard for future generations of priests, establishing the Levitical priesthood as a central element of Israel's covenant with God. Aaron's life teaches us about the responsibility of leadership, the importance of remaining faithful, and the grace that allows for restoration after failure. After Aaron's failure with the golden calf, he was confronted by Moses, who called the people to repentance. Aaron acknowledged his mistake and sought God's forgiveness. Despite this significant lapse, God showed mercy and did not remove Aaron from his position as high priest. This act of repentance and God's grace allowed Aaron to continue serving in his sacred role. His restoration became a powerful symbol of God's willingness to forgive and redeem, even when a leader falls short. Aaron's story reminds us that failure doesn't have to be the end, but an opportunity for growth and restoration. Throughout the wilderness journey, Aaron continued to play a vital role in the spiritual life of Israel. He assisted Moses in leading the people, offering sacrifices, and overseeing the tabernacle's construction and worship. His leadership was crucial in maintaining order and obedience to God, especially in the face of hardships and challenges. Aaron was instrumental in guiding the people through their trials in the wilderness, offering sacrifices for their sins, and interceding on their behalf. His unwavering faith and commitment to God's plan ensured the Israelites' spiritual survival during their long journey. Aaron's leadership was also crucial in helping Moses make difficult decisions for the nation. Whether it was settling disputes, guiding the people in their worship, or maintaining the sanctity of the tabernacle, Aaron supported Moses with wisdom and faithfulness. Despite facing challenges, including the rebellion of Korah and the people's complaints, Aaron remained steadfast in his role as a spiritual leader. His partnership with Moses in establishing the laws and practices that governed Israel was vital in shaping the nation's future. Aaron's death marked the end of an era in Israel's leadership. He passed away on Mount Hor at the age of 123, as the Israelites continued their journey toward the Promised Land. Before his death, Aaron passed his priestly garments to his son Eleazar, ensuring that the Levitical priesthood would continue through his family. This moment solidified Aaron's legacy, not only as the first high priest but also as a faithful servant who paved the way for future generations to carry on the spiritual leadership of Israel. The transition of leadership from Aaron to Eleazar represented a continuation of Aaron's work and faithfulness. While Aaron was not perfect, his life exemplified the values of repentance, leadership, and commitment to God. His legacy as the first high priest set a precedent for generations of priests who would follow him, shaping the spiritual life of Israel for centuries. The priesthood that Aaron established was integral in maintaining Israel's relationship with God, ensuring that the people could atone for their sins and remain in fellowship with him. Aaron's legacy as the first high priest serves as a reminder of the importance of spiritual leadership, humility, and the grace of God. Despite his flaws, Aaron's faithfulness and commitment to God never wavered. He was a man who, even in the face of failure, sought redemption and continued to serve with integrity. His story shows that while mistakes are inevitable, God's mercy is greater, and his plans for us remain intact if we turn back to him in repentance. Aaron's leadership laid the foundation for the Levitical priesthood, leaving a lasting impact on the spiritual life of Israel. Aaron's leadership teaches us an important lesson about the responsibility that comes with positions of power, especially for those in spiritual leadership. As the first high priest, Aaron was given the authority to lead Israel in worship, make sacrifices for the people, and guide them spiritually. This responsibility was immense, and Aaron's actions highlight how critical it is for leaders to act with integrity. Even when facing challenges or pressure, especially like when the Israelites turned to idolatry, Aaron had a responsibility to remain faithful to God's commands and lead with honor. Aaron's story also serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of repentance and redemption. His mistake with the golden calf was a significant failure in his leadership, but it didn't define him forever. When confronted by Moses, Aaron acknowledged his wrongdoing and sought forgiveness from God. His restoration to the role of high priest teaches us that no matter how serious our mistakes are, we can always turn to God for forgiveness. Just as Aaron was given another chance to serve, we too can be restored and continue fulfilling God's purpose in our lives. Through Aaron's life, we see that failure is not the end, but an opportunity for growth. His willingness to admit his error and seek reconciliation with God provides a clear example of how important it is to be humble in our mistakes. It shows that we should not hide our wrongs or let them define us, but instead acknowledge them, seek forgiveness, and move forward in faith. Repentance is not just about seeking forgiveness, but about learning from the past and choosing to walk in the right direction again. In the face of challenges and failures, Aaron's story encourages us to trust in God's plan. Even though Aaron made mistakes, God had a purpose for his life and continued to use him in significant ways. This is a powerful lesson for all of us. Even when we fall short, God can still guide us, shape us, and use us according to his plan. We can trust that God's purposes for us are not thwarted by our failures. Instead, he uses them to refine us and prepare us for the work ahead. Aaron's life also reminds us that leadership is not about being perfect, but about being faithful. While Aaron wasn't without fault, his story shows that true leadership is about relying on God, making amends when necessary, and staying faithful to the role given to us. In our own lives, whether we are leading a family, a team, or a community, we are called to lead with humility and integrity. If we stumble, we should not be discouraged, but take courage in knowing that we can always turn back to God for strength and guidance. Finally, Aaron's example encourages us to lead with compassion and responsibility. His leadership was not about seeking fame or power, but about fulfilling the calling God placed on him. He served others, interceded on their behalf, and sought to keep Israel in a relationship with God. As leaders in our own right, we can take inspiration from Aaron's example by prioritizing service over self-interest and ensuring that our leadership reflects God's love, mercy, and truth. Aaron's life was marked by both triumph and failure, but it ultimately shows the power of redemption. As Moses' brother, Aaron played a pivotal role in leading the Israelites out of Egypt and serving as the first high priest. His early leadership, including his role as Moses' spokesperson, was instrumental in fulfilling God's plan. However, his failure with the golden calf was a significant moment in his life, showing that even leaders can fall short. Despite this, Aaron's story does not end in failure. He repented, was restored, and continued to serve as the high priest, showing the power of God's forgiveness. Aaron's journey teaches us about the complexities of leadership. His life shows that leadership is not just about guiding others, but also about facing personal challenges, making mistakes, and being willing to humble ourselves when we fall short. Aaron's willingness to admit his failure and seek God's forgiveness is an important lesson for anyone in a position of authority. It reminds us that we must remain accountable, learn from our mistakes, and allow God to restore us. One of the greatest lessons from Aaron's story is the importance of repentance. No matter how great our mistakes, we can always turn to God for forgiveness and restoration. Aaron's life shows that God's mercy is available to all, even those who have failed in significant ways. By acknowledging our mistakes, asking for forgiveness, and moving forward in faith, we can experience God's grace just as Aaron did. As we reflect on Aaron's life, let's consider how his story can apply to our own situations. How can we lead with integrity and humility, even when faced with challenges? How do we handle our own failures and the mistakes of those we lead? Like Aaron, we can strive to remain faithful to God's calling, even when we stumble, and seek His guidance and forgiveness. Aaron's example challenges us to grow in both our leadership and our relationship with God. It reminds us that leadership is a responsibility, not a privilege, and that true leadership requires faithfulness, repentance, and humility. Aaron's life shows that no one is beyond God's redemption and that every mistake is an opportunity for growth and transformation. What do you think Aaron's life teaches us about leadership and redemption? How can you apply these lessons in your own life? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos that explore powerful Bible stories and their lessons for today.